Take it from the top, boys. Hello, everybody around the world. Well, we are now in part 12 of my book review from John Lennon's favorite book about the Beatles called Love Me Do by Michael Braun. In a 1970 interview with Rolling Stone magazine, John said that he liked Love Me Do by Michael Braun the best of all the Beatle books because it was a truthful book. John said that. So that's why I'm particularly interested in this book, and I think you are too. Here we go. Today we are looking at how Ed Sullivan, a TV host in the United States, came to know of the Beatles in the first place. Isn't that interesting? Okay.
Aha.
Sullivan, in the future, was talking about the Beatles. Quote, I remember the first time I saw them. I was at the London airport, now Heathrow, and there were mobs. There must have been 50,000 girls there, and I later found out they had prevented Lord Home and Queen Elizabeth from taking off.
Wow!
They were bigger than the Queen. Mr. Ed Sullivan said to his wife, Mrs. Sullivan, here is something. It was just like years ago when I was traveling in the deep south of the United States and I used to hear the name Presley. He was all wriggling and sex.
Oh my gosh!
These boys, the Fab Four, are good musicians. When I finally saw them play in England and the reaction,
Yes?
essentially he knew he had to have them on his really big shoe. See part 11 of my book review for the inside joke. That is how Sullivan came to know of the Beatles. And that's that. May I take just a moment to beg you to bear with me? I'm new to editing.
Wow!
Moving right along in the US of A. A Time magazine man asked a press aide whether it was true that the Beatles had been invited to the White House. I must say that although our Fab Four never made it in there, I have been there and stood at the Iron Gate and taken pictures of it. Washington, D.C. is really a trip worth taking if you're able. The Time magazine man said, I understand the young girl is a big fan of the Beatles. The young girl that he was talking about was President Johnson's daughter. Secret Service would not let her go to see the Beatles in concert. Won't let her go to the Coliseum concert in Washington. I'm going to try and set up a performance at home, which was the White House. Nice to be the president's daughter. But it never happened. Not even for her. Let's take a moment out of our busy, busy lives and just look at some of these photos. An hour before the Ed Sullivan program was to begin, an instrumental trio wandered up and down the sorry. An instrumental trio wandered up and down the aisles, serenading the largely teenage audience with soothing music. The fact that the only way backstage was through the men's room somewhat encouraged the girls to stay in their seats. It wouldn't have worked with me. Okay. Now, the troupe of boys from the stage play Oliver, who were also to appear on the show, arrived at the theater. Someone asked them if they were the Beatles. No, replied a 5-year-old New Yorker with a broad New York accent. We're the Roaches. During that performance, Davy Jones sang I'd Do Anything with the entire cast. Davy Jones and the cast of Oliver appeared on one of the most famous airings of the Ed Sullivan Show ever.
Wow!
Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because we're about to go on stage. First off, my little dog is sleeping and snorting. It's not me. Okay. Just before the program is to begin, columnist Earl Wilson meets Sullivan backstage. Wilson says, "Is it true, Ed? Are you going to wear it?" Sullivan said, "I've already worn it." Wilson said, "How did you look?" Sullivan said, "It's a wig like any other. By the way, your hair looks great." By the way, I checked, and you too could have a variety of Beatle wigs, even now. That's Luna Dog saying, "Don't do it." Upstairs, the Beatles are having their pictures taken with Sullivan. A CBS pressman is waving a pair of shears, scissors, and a comb. "Come on, fellas," he is saying. "It's just a gimmick photo." I don't know. Paul looks pretty scared. According to this book, and this Michael Braun was an eyewitness, he says the Beatles recording manager George Martin was in the audience. He plans to record their concert at Carnegie Hall. Someone asks him why, since all the songs have been recorded before. I don't know why, he says. It's just a bit of history, I guess. Now, if you Google this, it said he was not there. And so I wrote to Google, it wasn't Wiki, and I said that this book says George Martin was there. And this Michael Braun was with the Beatles during their entire first tour of the U.S.
Aha.
What do you all think? Or what do you know? What have you heard? Anything? Was George Martin in the audience at the Beatles' first Ed Sullivan appearance? Okay, next topic. Okay, Sullivan is on stage doing a warm-up. And he walks off the stage and reappears in a Beatles wig to be in the spirit. Okay? The program opens with an announcement of a congratulatory telegram from Elvis Presley and his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. Elvis says he is reciprocating the Beatles' telegram when he visited England in 1962. Pay attention, Britain. A visit unknown to all but Elvis.
What?
When the boys come on stage, they scream, the girls scream, and their names are superimposed on the television screen. When John's face comes up, it says John. Sorry, girls, he's married. Well, talk about a killjoy. It didn't matter to any of us. We would have all been his harem. "61 years later, today, the day I'm recording this, you may now know that this is Paul. Paul, not McCarthy, McCartney. Get it straight." Okay, I've been working on this for hours, so let's take a little break here. I really wasn't sure if the show was live because I was really little. I don't remember, so I looked it up. Yes, the Beatles played live on the Ed Sullivan Show on the 9th of February, 1964. That was their first performance in the U.S. It was first live appearance on American television. The show was broadcast on CBS from New York. I think we knew that. The Beatles performed their number one hit song at the time in the U.S., which was I Want to Hold Your Hand. And they also played I Saw Her Standing There. And the performance was seen by over 73 million viewers. Now this I love. This is unbelievable. 45.3 of households with televisions were watching. Now, I realize that in the early 60s, not everybody may have had a television. But let's put it this way. In the United States, I'm going to guess the vast majority of people did have televisions, and almost half of the country was watching them. It's not even real. I live in England now, and not everybody had televisions back in those days, or they didn't own televisions. But that was not the case in the U.S. All right, and also it says the performance was considered a cultural watershed that launched American Beatlemania, and the performance inspired many young viewers to become rock musicians. It did me. I flipped from Bach to Beatles. Now I'll put on my soft voice. If you like this video, please put a thumbs up. And would you mind hitting the subscribe button? It's a black button with white letters. You see, this lets YouTube know that people are watching. And they push my channel forward. Okay? I'm disabled, and YouTube does pay a little bit of money. And it would be a great way for me to work from home, doing something I love. And for those of you who follow it, I know you love it too. Back to my regular voice. Thank you. Needless to say, the show was a great success. The news that crime went down in New York and around the country that night turned out to be a hoax. That was not true, if you've heard that. After their performance, they raced back to the hotel, the plaza, and as they entered the door, a young man said to his date, "They'll never believe it. Never. We were so close to them. They'll never believe it." Okay, and then it says they went out for dinner to the Playboy Club, which was across the street from the hotel. If you see one of my previous videos, it talks about that. And someone asked Paul's opinion on the Playboy bunnies. And Paul said, "I think the bunnies are even more lovable than we are." When asked his opinion on the Playboy Club, he replied, "No comment. The Playboy Club and I are just good friends." Does that sound familiar? It was in A Hard Day's Night. By the way, my emotional support animal snores so much that it gives me emotional problems. It says, in honor of their appearance, the orchestra played appropriate music and Ringo twisted. "Come on, baby, let's do the twist." Okay. And then, according to the author, which I'm not real sure about this one, he says the highlight of the evening was a group that had been playing for a few weeks, dubbed as the American Beatles. They got on stage. They were wearing Take two. They were wearing wigs And I can't. Take 3. They were wearing wigs and performed the Beatles' entire repertoire. It really wasn't much like us, said Ringo afterwards. The music was too good. Okay, friends. I've been working on this for about 7 hours and I'm tired. Happy 9th of February, the day that the Beatles performed on the Ed Sullivan Show, which was the main reason that they came over to the U.S. And the rest is history. But there's still more to go in this book. We have to go to the Washington Coliseum. We go to Carnegie Hall. And we go to a surprise. Surprise! Yeah. Carnegie Hall, Washington. I think that's it for right now. Some of this coming up is pretty funny, though. Okay? So we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.